How's it going, guys? And welcome back to the channel. I'm David Goodman, and today I have a really special guest joining us. He's a true expert in the field of short-term rentals in Nashville, specifically in the city of Nashville. I've been working with him for the last year or two, working with clients, helping give really good short-term rental consultation and advice to clients who are entering the Nashville market. I'm going to let him get into his backstory, but this is Peter Blankenship. Pete, thanks for doing this with me.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Dave. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah. So, and by the way, guys, if you're interested in the Nashville market or specifically short-term rentals and interested in investing in short-term rentals in Nashville, be sure to subscribe and like this video. You can ask questions in the comments if you have any, or you can give us a call. Our contact information is in the description below. Okay, so Pete, we'll just get right to it. Can you just kick it off by delving into your background and your
Yeah.
experience with short-term rentals in the Nashville market?
I kind of got into short-term rentals purely, was working in the music industry in Nashville, doing some copyright law, assistant stuff and working at CSAC and ended up just getting into rental arbitrage on Music Row and, leasing people's houses for fixed rent and furnishing it and, renting out. And ultimately my book of business and, Vacasa reached out to me. We went from 30 units or so under management to after we acquired Turnkey Vacation Rentals, the company in Nashville, the total units under management while I was at Vacasa was in the low 500s, I believe. So learned a lot, managing with my team a lot of properties, looking at a lot of properties, underwriting a lot of properties, and really became the expert in a small operation of people, as far as what zonings can become what legal avenues do you have to pursue certain properties, and what the cash flows based on historical averages could be. Really learned the Nashville market intensively over the changes from waiting in line at a permit office, 8 at a time every day, to now you can do it all online. So really got to learn directly, have contacts down at the city zoning office and commissioner's office, and just kind of did it from the ground up in Nashville for a long time, and understand pretty in depth, all the
Yeah.
regulations that have been put into place, and how to navigate it.
That's awesome. And what was the time frames there when you were first doing arbitrage when you
Yeah.
were at Vacasa?
I did the arbitrage for, 2 years or so in 2017, or so, 2016, 2017. And then Vacasa reached out to me, I believe, 2019, 2018, and began working for them in the market. And at the time, a lot of things, kind of 12 South had only just, was 5 years into the 20-year run. It's, the 15-year run now that since they kind of revitalized it. And
Mhm.
there's just been so many changes just while I, lived in Nashville, and everything seems to be changing really quickly. Obviously, zoning regulations, different things like that can really affect, where you need to buy. But ultimately, the two permit types are really what you just need to determine. So,
Yeah, and so that kind of leads me into a question I've got for you in just the current landscape of zoning, what it was like, and kind of what has been in a briefly where it started and kind of what is the current landscape? Because most of the clients that I talk to about the Nashville market, what they're aware of is Nashville. Like the first thing that folks think of is that it's a restrictive city, and if they don't know too much about it, they're thinking that beware of doing short-term rental in Nashville. What's the current, like, what's that about? And can you give us a little high level of what the zoning considerations are for short-term rentals in Nashville?
yeah, absolutely. So, I think it's better to start just when things change, maybe.
Okay.
So, back in, I guess it was summer 2019, they changed it to where, non-owner occupied and owner occupied, no more residential multifamily zoning would get non-owner occupied permitting. only owner occupied or grandfathered in. So really, when that happened, it kept people from buying up residential properties as much to turn them into short-term rentals without physically living there. And obviously, that's still a possibility that you can do, but ultimately, it's not hard at all to determine if your zoning is eligible. I could tell you, you just tell me the address and I'll look it up. If
Yeah.
you can do non-owner occupied or owner occupied permitting, commercially zoned properties are going to be good indefinitely moving forward. And then anything that's already permitted that you're acquiring in an LLC, you'll still be good. You just have to satisfy the owner occupied portion if you want to do this in a residential capacity, which
Right.
I'd be happy to talk to you about on a case by case
Yeah.
basis.
Well, and the I would just give in this the reasoning for that or the thought process from the city. I mean, it's the idea is we are an entertainment economy, but the idea is neighbors don't, if you're not an occupant of the neighborhood, you're probably not paying as much attention to what's going on in the neighborhood. And so that's why there's that distinction between owner occupied permits and non-owner occupied permits. Like, I guess the city does want to allow for residents of the area to take advantage of that economy, which is really, I guess, nice. And there's some caveats to that too, right? With certain kinds of properties. So you're still going to want to work with an advisor on which properties can be do like owner occupied because that's gotten kind of complicated. But
Definitely.
I would say that that's the reasoning for it. So they want to have Airbnb, it's a thing, but they want people that are in the communities to be doing it in those residential areas. And then obviously if it's zone commercial, then you're in these areas that are not going to be as restrictive and then potentially have issues with neighbors and things like that. Right.
Right. Yeah. And like to your point, Dave, I mean, you can't even get a permit for your property zone residential if you're in an LLC. So yeah, I mean, they're trying to not let, companies with large umbrella policies buy up properties to try to rent, full time as a short term rental. So, but
Right. So,
yeah,
and I would even say I'd tell people like my thought process is with those restrictions, I feel like there is opportunity with that because there's markets like Phoenix, Arizona, and maybe some parts of the in the mountains that have no restrictions, so anyone can do it, which really saturates the market. And so I do think now I would say there's oversaturation probably in every single market, but with the challenges that Davidson County presents to operators, it does kind of weed out the kind of the operators that are not at that level. Now I mean, Pete, I mean, what's the percentage? It's hard to say of people who don't care about the permitting restrictions and they're just because Airbnb doesn't care, right?
no, I mean, technically in Nashville, you're supposed to put your permit or its number on your listing, right? But yeah, to your point, I mean, Airbnb, you can easily put your property up without a permit. If the city finds you, then they'll ban you from being able to get a permit in the future. That's why we always advise our clients to make sure that permit is in prior to turning your listing on. But to your point, they aren't able to really police it at scale. But getting the permit, is definitely the way to go to avoid, potential fines, etc., with the city.
Hey, if you're thinking about relocating to the Nashville, Tennessee area, well, I've got just the thing for you. My team and I have actually taken the time to create the ultimate Nashville area relocation guide, which is meant to save you hours of research, and I've linked it down below. From top employers, best hospitals, and a boatload of other things that you're going to need to know before you make the move to Nashville. It's completely free, it's linked below. Check out the top pinned comments. I hope that helps, and let's talk soon. Thanks for the overview there. That's a great point. Let me just get right into this, and we'll do a few more of these videos. But let me just ask you, Pete, as someone who's operated and managed, what would you say to someone who is looking at if short-term rentals is something they want to do in the Nashville market? Is it still a good idea amidst changing regulations and the market conditions, what are your thoughts on the viability of short-term rentals in Nashville?
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously you can buy bad deals and good deals, I believe, in every market, with the right team together and, the right information, and then the ability to pull the trigger, obviously. So I think your team's really important, but Nashville as a whole, the legislation has settled down completely, in my opinion, the last 2 to 3 years. There's been no new introductions that have really passed. Um, so we're very stable now from a standpoint of where do we go from here?
Mhm.
It's a very comfortable idea for the city of Nashville now, in my opinion. The level of tourism that it brings is great, but I believe really, I mean, you're going to be getting a property now in Nashville that 2 years ago maybe was, 100 grand, 200 grand more, for the
Right,
same property. So we've been in a market that has corrected to a degree, from the hype maybe that, people saw where Nashville, every property was selling. Now there's definitely, I'd say now's a great time to look back into Nashville as an investor,
right,
because, we're underwriting a lot of property and finding, especially if you're willing to manage these yourselves or not
right.
pay, a standard 20% or so management fee. I mean, you just built in, if you're cash flowing with 20% management fee out and you can do that yourself, obviously that's a big payback to yourself and the systems that you can create to do that. Long answer, yes, I think Nashville is still a great market to invest in for short term, assuming that you do your due diligence and you don't buy off of a pro forma exclusively.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna leave it at that. I think we are gonna get into maybe analyzing deals, finding short-term rentals, how to get into it. But for this video, I just wanted to give a brief introduction on Pete, what he does. How can people get a hold of you, Pete? What are you?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I would just give out my cell phone here, but I'll tell them to just email me at, Pete at davenportreco.com. You can also reach out to Dave. You can connect with me on Bigger Pockets. I'm on LinkedIn. It's just Pete Blankenship. I look forward to following everybody and getting in touch, helping anyone any way I can. I think that, we have a great team we've built here locally and the right expertise to really help you guys capitalize on this market. So,
Sweet. Okay. Well, thanks again for chiming in, Pete, and thanks for anyone who watched. If you would, if you have any questions, you can also put them in the comments below. And let us know if there's anything in particular with the short-term rental market you'd like to get into in the national market. We'll be sure to put it out in our next video. So again, thanks for watching. We'll talk soon.